this is what 30% body fat looks like. At this level, your stomach is usually the first thing you notice when you look in the mirror. Drop down to 20% and things start to change. Your waist gets smaller. Your face becomes leaner. You might even notice the first hints of muscle definition. At 15%, your upper abs may begin to show. But to truly strip away the stubborn fat around your belly and reveal a lean, athletic physique, most people need to go even lower, around 12% body fat. And that is where the real challenge begins. According to body composition data collected from thousands of people, fewer than 1% ever reach that level. Not because they are lazy, not because they do not work hard, but because their body fights back every step of the way. Hunger increases, energy drops, fat loss slows, and many people end up regaining everything they lost. I spent 16 weeks testing a systematic approach to fat loss. I started at around 28% body fat, based on waist measurement and visual comparison. I changed my training, my nutrition, and most importantly, my mindset. I did not starve myself. I did not do hours of cardio. I simply followed a step-by-step system that prioritized muscle preservation, smart calorie management, and metabolic recovery. The result? I reached just under 13% body fat. My energy stayed high, my hunger was manageable, and I have kept it off for 6 months. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to do the same, no matter where you are starting from. I spent 16 weeks testing this fat loss system on myself. I am not a professional athlete. I am not a personal trainer. I am a normal person who, like many people, had slowly accumulated body fat over the years. I had tried crash diets before. I had tried hours of cardio. I had tried cutting out entire food groups. Every time I lost weight, then regained it, sometimes with extra. This time I decided to do things differently. I researched the science. I listened to experts like Dr. Mike Israetel, Norton, Eric Trexler, and Eric Helms. I created a simple, repeatable system. I ate in a moderate calorie deficit, about 300 to 500 calories below maintenance. I prioritized protein at every meal. I lifted weights just 3 times a week, focusing on compound movements. I walked 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day. And every 12 weeks, I took a diet break, eating at maintenance for 2 to 4 weeks before starting another fat loss phase. After 16 weeks of actual dieting, spread over about 22 weeks including breaks, I had lost over 25 pounds of fat while keeping almost all my muscle. My waist dropped from 36 inches to 31 inches. My energy never crashed, and I did not feel like I was fighting my own body. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to build your own system, from whatever body fat percentage you are starting at. But first, let me ask you something. Have you tried to lose belly fat but felt like your body was working against you? Have you lost weight only to regain it? Do you feel hungry all the time when you diet? Have you been told to just eat less and move more, but that never seems to work long term? If you answered yes to any of these, you are not broken. You have just been missing a few key pieces of the puzzle. And the puzzle starts with understanding the single biggest mistake people make the moment they begin a fat loss phase. Here is what most people get wrong. When most people start a fat loss phase, they focus on one thing, the number on the scale. Every morning becomes a test. Did the scale go down? If it did, they feel successful. If it did not, they feel frustrated. But according to Dr. Mike Israetel, one of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming that all weight loss is good weight loss. Because when you diet, your body does not automatically burn only fat. It can burn muscle too, and that is where things become dangerous. Imagine 2 people each lose 20 pounds. On paper, they achieve the exact same result. But when you look closer, the story is completely different. One person lost mostly body fat while preserving their muscle. The other lost a significant amount of muscle along with the fat. Both weigh less. But one looks lean, athletic, and healthy. The other simply looks smaller. That is because muscle shapes your physique. It is what gives your body definition. It is what creates the look most people are actually chasing when they say they want to lose belly fat. But there is another reason preserving muscle is so important. When muscle loss becomes excessive, your body starts fighting back. Research suggests that losing muscle can increase hunger signals and cravings, making the dieting process much harder to sustain. In other words, the more muscle you lose, the harder your body may push you toward overeating. And that is exactly how many people end up regaining the weight they worked so hard to lose. So your first goal during fat loss should not be losing weight. It should be protecting muscle. Because if you can preserve muscle while losing fat, everything changes. You look better, you feel stronger, and you are much more likely to keep the fat off long term. Now, how do you actually train during a fat loss phase to preserve as much muscle as possible? Most people assume the answer is more. More workouts, more sets, more hours in the gym. But a recent study suggests the real answer may be much less than you think. Researchers divided participants into 3 groups. The first group simply dieted, no structured training, just a calorie deficit. The second group followed the same diet but added a small amount of cardio and 2 short full-body workouts each week. The third group did even more exercise. After 16 weeks, all 3 groups lost weight. But what happened underneath the surface told a very different story. The diet-only group lost a significant amount of muscle along with their fat. The second group performed much better, preserving far more lean tissue, and the third group achieved something remarkable. They lost almost entirely body fat while maintaining their muscle mass. Even more interesting, they also reduced more visceral fat, the kind of fat around your organs that is most strongly associated with poor health outcomes. Now here is the part that shocked many researchers. The amount of resistance training required was not extreme. In fact, just a few hard sets per muscle group each week appeared to be enough to maintain muscle for many people. Think about that. You do not necessarily need 6 days per week in the gym. You do not need marathon workouts. You do not need to destroy yourself every session. What you need is a consistent signal telling your body that this muscle is still important. And as long as that signal remains, your body becomes much more willing to burn fat while holding on to valuable lean tissue. So here is my simple training recommendation for fat loss. Lift weights 3 times per week. Focus on compound movements like squats, presses, rows, and deadlifts. Do 2 to 3 hard sets per exercise. Keep your workouts under 45 minutes. That is it. You do not need to add more volume. You do not need to train to failure on every set. You just need to give your body a reason to keep your muscle. But training is only half the equation. Because even the best workout program in the world can fail if your nutrition is not supporting it. And according to nutrition scientist Norton, there is one nutrient that matters more than any other when you are trying to get lean: protein. When most people think about fat loss nutrition, they immediately focus on what they need to remove. Cut carbs, avoid sugar, stop eating late at night, eliminate processed foods. But according to Norton, that is often the wrong place to start. Because before worrying about what to remove, you need to make sure you are getting enough of what matters most. In fact, if there is one nutritional variable that consistently shows up in successful fat loss studies, it is adequate protein intake. Why? Because protein solves multiple problems at the same time. First, it helps preserve muscle. Remember, your body is constantly deciding what tissue to keep and what tissue to break down during a calorie deficit. The more muscle you preserve, the better your body composition will look as fat comes off. But protein offers another huge advantage. It helps control hunger, and anyone who has ever dieted knows that hunger is often the real battle. Not motivation, not discipline. Hunger. Protein is consistently ranked as the most satiating macronutrient, meaning it helps you feel fuller for longer compared to carbohydrates or fats. That can make sticking to a calorie deficit dramatically easier. Lane recommends aiming for roughly 1.8 to 2.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. For someone who weighs 180 pounds, that is about 150 to 220 grams of protein per day. The exact number is not as important as the principle. Make protein a priority at every meal. Now here is where many people get surprised. After protein is set, the rest of your calories become much more flexible. Some people prefer higher carbohydrates. Others feel better eating more fats. And according to the research, both approaches can work because long-term adherence matters far more than choosing the perfect macro split. The best diet is not the one that looks impressive on paper. It is the one you can actually follow 6 months from now. But even when your protein is high and your training is consistent, there is another challenge waiting around the corner, and it is the reason many people stop losing fat after only a few weeks. Your metabolism starts fighting back. You see, your body does not know you are trying to look better. It does not know you are trying to reach 12% body fat. All it knows is that energy is becoming scarce, and when that happens, it begins defending itself. One of the first changes occurs in your metabolism. As you lose weight, your body naturally burns fewer calories. A lighter body requires less energy to move, less energy to maintain, and less energy to survive. But that is only part of the story. Your body also starts making subtle adjustments you rarely notice. You fidget less. You move less. You become slightly more efficient. Researchers call this adaptive thermogenesis, and while each change seems small, together they can significantly reduce your daily calorie expenditure. At the same time, hunger starts increasing, food becomes more appealing, cravings become stronger. It is as if your body is trying to pull you back toward your starting point. This is exactly why fat loss often stalls around the 20% body fat range. Not because you are lazy, not because you are broken, because your body is adapting. The good news is there is a way around it. But the solution is not slashing calories lower and lower forever. In fact, that is often where people make their next big mistake. They assume that if a calorie deficit works, then a bigger calorie deficit must work even better. So when fat loss slows down, they respond the only way they know how: eat less, cut more calories, push harder, stay on the diet longer. For a while, it may even seem like it is working. But eventually something changes. Your energy drops, your workouts suffer, food is constantly on your mind, and before long, you are standing in the kitchen at midnight, wondering why you are suddenly craving everything in sight. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. In fact, Eric Trexler says this is one of the biggest reasons people regain the weight they lose, not because the diet failed, but because they stayed in the diet phase for too long. Think of dieting like sprinting. You can sprint hard for a period of time, but you cannot sprint forever. Eventually, fatigue catches up, and when it does, the body starts demanding relief. That is why many successful coaches use what are called diet phases. Instead of trying to go from 30% body fat straight to 12% in one endless push, they break the journey into stages. A common approach is dieting for around 12 to 16 weeks, losing a meaningful amount of fat, then intentionally spending time at maintenance calories, not gaining weight, not losing weight, simply allowing your body and mind to recover. This is where many people panic. They think maintenance means losing progress, but in reality, maintenance is often what protects progress. It lowers diet fatigue, it reduces cravings, it improves training performance, and it helps prepare you for the next phase. Because the goal is not just getting lean, the goal is staying lean. So here is my simple protocol for diet phases. Diet for 8 to 12 weeks at a moderate calorie deficit. Aim to lose about 1 to 2 pounds per week. Then take a diet break of 2 to 4 weeks where you eat at maintenance calories. During the break, keep your protein high and keep training. You will not gain fat if you are eating at maintenance. You might even continue losing a tiny amount of fat because your metabolism rebounds. After the break, start another diet phase. Repeat until you reach your goal. This approach takes longer on the calendar, but it is far more sustainable and far more likely to keep the fat off for good. Now let us talk about calories. How do you know how many calories you actually need? Most people start with an online calculator, and that is fine, but there is a problem. Many calorie calculators can be off by several hundred calories per day, which means two people using the exact same formula may get very different results. That is why you need to use the calculator as a starting point, then track your weight consistently. Watch the trend, not the daily fluctuations. The trend. If your weight is gradually dropping by about 1 to 2 pounds per week, you are probably in the right range. If nothing is happening, adjust your calories down by about 100 to 200 per day. If you are losing weight too fast, more than 2 to 3 pounds per week, add some calories back. Think of your calorie target as a hypothesis. Your body provides the real answer, and that is what separates successful fat loss from endless guessing. Now, what about cardio? Do you actually need it to reach a lean physique? The answer is much more surprising than most people expect. If you have ever tried to lose belly fat, you have probably been told the same thing. Do more cardio, run longer, burn more calories, and on the surface it makes sense. If you burn an extra 300 calories during a workout, should that not automatically speed up fat loss? Not necessarily. According to researcher Eric Helms, the human body is far more adaptive than most people realize. There is a concept known as the constrained energy model. And it suggests that when you dramatically increase exercise, your body often compensates in ways you do not notice. You may move less later in the day, you may fidget less, you may subconsciously conserve energy, and sometimes you become hungrier and eat more. As a result, that 300-calorie cardio session may not create a true 300-calorie deficit. The real impact could be much smaller. Now, this does not mean cardio is useless. Far from it. The mistake is viewing cardio as the primary driver of fat loss, because according to the research, one of the most powerful forms of activity is not intense cardio at all. It is walking. Specifically, your daily step count. People who consistently stay below about 5,000 steps per day often struggle with appetite regulation and energy balance. But something interesting begins to happen around 7,000 to 9,000 steps. The body starts regulating hunger more effectively. Energy balance becomes easier to manage. Overall activity levels improve. That is why many experts recommend building your foundation with steps before adding large amounts of cardio. Think of it this way. Cardio is the tool. Daily movement is the foundation. Start with 7,000 to 9,000 steps per day. If progress slows, gradually increase toward 10,000 to 15,000. And remember this simple rule. About 80% of your fat loss adjustments should come from nutrition. Only about 20% should come from additional cardio. Walking is free, joint-friendly, and almost impossible to overdo. Now let us talk about the mental side. Because even if you have the perfect training plan, perfect nutrition, and perfect calorie deficit, there is still one final obstacle standing between you and long-term success. And surprisingly, it has nothing to do with food, training, or cardio. It starts in your mind. Take treat meals as an example. Most people approach them the wrong way. They know they are going out for dinner on Saturday night. So what do? They barely eat all day. They try to save calories. They tell themselves they will make up for it later. But by the time dinner arrives, they are starving. Suddenly, every appetizer looks irresistible. Every dessert feels justified. And what was supposed to be one enjoyable meal turns into an entire weekend of overeating. Then comes the guilt. And guilt often leads to another mistake. Overcompensation, extra cardio, extreme restriction, skipping meals, trying to punish yourself for what happened yesterday. This creates a cycle that can last for years. Restrict, overeat, feel guilty, restrict again. Instead, own your decisions. If you choose to enjoy a special meal, enjoy it. Then move on. No punishment, no compensation, no drama. Because long-term success is not built on perfection. It is built on consistency. But perhaps the most important lesson involves hunger itself. Many people believe that successful dieting means eliminating hunger completely. The truth is, some hunger is normal. In fact, if you are trying to get significantly leaner, you will probably experience periods where you are a little hungry. And that is okay. The goal is not to remove every uncomfortable feeling. The goal is to learn how to manage them. Because once you stop fighting every craving, every appetite signal, and every imperfect day, something surprising happens. Fat loss becomes sustainable. And that is when everything we have talked about finally comes together. Not as a diet, not as a challenge, but as a lifestyle you can actually maintain for years. Let me give you a practical 10-step protocol to reach 12% body fat from any starting point. Step 1. Calculate your maintenance calories using an online calculator. This is your starting hypothesis. Step 2. Create a moderate deficit of 300 to 500 calories per day. Aim to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Step 3. Set your protein intake to 1.8 to 2.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. Make protein the priority at every meal. Step 4. Lift weights 3 times per week. Focus on compound movements. Do 2 to 3 hard sets per exercise. Keep workouts under 45 minutes. Step 5. Walk 7,000 to 9,000 steps per day. Use a pedometer or phone to track. Do not add intense cardio until steps are consistent. Step 6. Track your weight daily but watch the weekly trend. If no change after 2 weeks, adjust calories down by 100 to 200 per day. Step 7. After 8 to 12 weeks of dieting, take a diet break of 2 to 4 weeks at maintenance calories. Keep protein high and keep training. Step 8. Repeat diet phases until you reach your goal. Do not try to go from high body fat to 12% in one endless push. Step 9. Manage treat meals intelligently. Do not starve yourself before. Eat normally, enjoy the meal, then return to your plan without guilt or compensation. Step 10. Accept that some hunger is normal. Stay consistent, not perfect. The people who succeed are rarely the most disciplined. They are the most consistent. Let me quickly recap the core principles of this system. First, protect your muscle. Losing weight is easy. Losing fat while keeping muscle is what creates a lean physique. Second, prioritize protein. It preserves muscle, controls hunger, and makes dieting easier. Third, create a moderate calorie deficit. Not starvation, not crash dieting. Just a consistent deficit of 300 to 500 calories per day. Fourth, understand that your metabolism will adapt. When progress slows, do not panic. Adjust intelligently. Use diet phases to reset. Fifth, build a foundation of daily steps before adding intense cardio. Walking is more powerful than most people realize. Sixth, master the mental game. Own your decisions. Do not punish yourself. Accept that some hunger is normal. Seventh, be consistent over perfect. A mediocre plan followed for a year beats a perfect plan followed for a month. Here is the truth. Getting to 12% body fat is not about finding one magic solution. It is about combining several simple principles that work together. You do not need the perfect diet. You do not need the perfect workout. You do not need perfect motivation. You simply need a system you can follow long enough for results to become inevitable. Your body is not fighting against you. It is responding to the signals you give it. Give it consistent resistance training, adequate protein, a moderate calorie deficit, and strategic diet breaks, and it will release the fat. Not because you forced it, because you worked with it. Start where you are, use the system, and give it time. Your 12% body fat is waiting. If this video changed how you see fat loss, hit like so winds of thought can bring you more science of the body you inhabit, and comment below. What is your current body fat percentage estimate, or what is your goal? Let me know. Your journey starts with one simple step. Start today. Send this video to someone who needs to hear it. Your friend who has tried every diet. Your family member who thinks they are broken. Your coworker who is stuck at the same weight. Their bodies are not broken. They just need the right system state. You do not need extreme diets. You do not need hours of cardio. You need smart training, adequate protein, moderate deficits, and diet breaks. Start today. Your leaner body is waiting.